Welcome to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and today I'm going to share with you two questions that I was asked this week while I was presenting IEP workshops for PTAs across the country. And I hear these questions come up a lot. I definitely heard them more than once this past week, but it was just the other night. Okay. I'm doing this IEP workshop. I'm teaching about, 12 questions to ask to really open up the conversation between parents, teachers, admins, and therapists to level up an IEP to make sure that we're doing the best that we can, in every situation. And we get to the Q&A session, which I love. I mean, I've been doing this long enough that I'm like, yes, put me on the hot seat, ask me the questions, let's have the tough conversations. And a mom hops into the chat box and she says, I've been told that my school has no curriculum for my child and that it is basically the teacher's job to create the curriculum for my daughter as she goes, because all the students in her classroom have unique needs and there's basically no curriculum that's going to meet those unique needs. So the teacher puts together the curriculum, whatever the teacher feels like needs to happen next. Now, here's the thing. I have zero problems with the teacher. Zero problems with the teacher. This is not the teacher's fault that the teacher is in this situation where there is no curriculum. This mom's like, is this okay? Like, we were talking about curriculum because I'm always about know what curriculum is being used in special education. This is a problem in special education across the board in majority of the districts that I work with, the parents. I mean, curriculum is an issue still a lot of times. Okay. So like, is this okay? That was the parents. Is this okay? This is what I've been told. No, that is not okay. That is not okay. When is the teacher making the curriculum? First, let's go. When is the teacher making the curriculum? On her own time, on a Friday night? Is she buying, dollar resources off teacher paid teachers? That's not okay. Your child needs a research-based proven curriculum to meet your child where they're at and to bring them to the next level in all the areas that are addressed within your child's IEP. So no, that is not okay. I get on fire about this for a lot of reasons. One is I watched my brother not get the education that he needed. You guys know I have a brother with Down syndrome, and I watched my mom struggle and navigate. Curriculum was definitely an issue back then, way back in the 80s. Okay. Then I became a special education teacher because I was like, I'll just solve all the special education problems from the inside of my classroom. I'll just do that. That'll be great. Except for I walked into a classroom that didn't have any curriculum. It was like, here's the IEPs. Good luck. That's not a unique situation because that was the late 90s. I'm here in the 2020s. I'm still getting calls from schools and from parents saying, okay, we are struggling. We are struggling because, and you know what? A lot of it has to do with resources. And this is not a money issue, which we all know, right? A child gets a free and appropriate public education. It doesn't say like if the budget says so. They get an appropriate education. But curriculum doesn't have to be expensive. It needs to be there, though. This is not on the teacher to go figure out how to design curriculum. She's not a curriculum designer. She's a teacher. She's there to implement curriculum and to help a child make meaningful progress, right? To guide the child. So spending all of her time creating all the resources instead of actually using the resources, which I know that she's using resources. I know that she's doing the best that she can, but this is not okay. Can you please go check on the curriculum? And if you're a teacher or an admin, a therapist that's seeing this struggle, just know that you're not alone. And I know that you typically can't change this on your own, but you can be part of the change. When I was a teacher and I was in this situation, I had a parent come in and ask me if I had a specific type of curriculum for her child. This type of curriculum, a multisensory curriculum, and it's a big, long story, what kind of curriculum it needed to be. But we needed a specific type of curriculum in the classroom. And, the parent says, do you have this for my child? I'm like looking around my empty room. Nope, don't have it. I was very professional about it, but that's in my head. I was like, seriously? Like, I have nothing. I have nothing. She says, don't worry, you'll have it next week. You see, that parent had to go talk to my boss. She knew it was not my fault that I didn't have the curriculum. Inside of the IEP, it said that this child, I'm just going to use an example. It's a multisensory curriculum for math. So I needed to have it didn't say I had to have a specific, like, you must use touch math. It wasn't a specific name as you must do it this way with this one curriculum, but there was definitely a type of curriculum that was working for this child in the past. It should have been in my classroom, and it wasn't. So that's number one. That's the question that I was asked. Second question that came up. We were talking about inclusion. I always say inclusion is an experience, not a place. I am all about the full continuum of placements. I'm always about making sure that we are doing what's right for each child. For some children, that means going into general education classrooms. For some children, it does not mean that. Okay, it means having a more specialized environment. Okay, but no matter what environment is chosen, the child needs to be included in the school community. You go to school. You don't go to a room. You go to school. You don't go to a room. You go to a school. Okay. So when the parent says to me, my child is in a classroom with 9 other students and they don't leave the room for inclusive activities like with the school. Now, do they leave the room as the 9 of them go to PE, or the 9 of them go to art, or the 9 of them yes, the 9 of them are together, but they are not part of the school community. There are school activities. It's a high school. There are high school activities going on every day, I'm sure. But nobody has taken the time to get creative to say, how do we take these 9 students who absolutely need specialized instruction by a special education teacher, but how do we make sure that they are part of the school community? How do we do that? Nobody asked the question. So we don't have an answer for that. You know what? I'm not in that school. If I went to that school and I could see what's happening in that school, what kind of activities are there, what does the school culture look like, what's going on, I bet you I could have a dozen ideas, and so could you. You could have a dozen ideas if we thought about it in the way of being part of the school community, not taking a child with an IEP and putting them next to a child who doesn't have an IEP and calling it inclusion. We're talking about making sure that these 9 students who receive their specialized instruction with a special education teacher are part of the school community. Again, not on the teacher. Just always know I'm not throwing the teacher under the bus, because you know what I was that teacher that had to go beg on doors, like knock on the doors. Could my children, my students, please come hang out with your students during this activity, during this thing? Because the school culture, again, I would like to say that this is different. Happened to my brother in the 80s, happened to me as a teacher in the 90s, still happening now in the 2020s. Okay? So what are we going to do about this? We need more change makers. We need more leaders in special education. That's exactly why I have the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. This is something I've been doing for 30 years. I can't do it all on my own. You probably have ideas of what could be changed, but you're like, that's like a full-time job. Well, let's think about that for a minute. Is changing special education something that you're interested in doing as part-time gig, full-time career, something that you want to get paid for your IEP expertise, get paid to put things into practice, get paid for helping parents through the IEP process? I want you to go ahead and follow the links wherever you're watching, above, below, and go learn more about the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. I would love to give you all of the tools that I have to change special education and teach you how you can become a leader in your community and get paid for your expertise, because it's needed. There are schools that need you. There are parent groups that need you. There are individual families that need you. We need more leaders in special education to come up with the creative ideas to make sure that we are absolutely preparing every child for further education, employment, and independent living. I hope to see you guys in the next mentorship. And just remember, curriculum and inclusion, We got to get creative, because just winging it is definitely not good enough. I'll see you guys next time on the Special Education Inner Circle podcast.